Hey, and welcome to the first episode of Friendly Fire, a new video game podcast where a couple of friends and I come together to talk about video games and, well, not pull our punches. We're going to call each other out about it. So today, I'm William. You might recognize me from the site I'm posting this on, WC Robinson, and I'm joined by two of my good friends that aren't afraid to shoot me online and criticize me for my opinions. Stephen and Jed, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Stephen. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, big fan of Pokemon, and I like to think I'm nice, genuinely. I'm not that mean.
I think the fact that you said genuinely kind of makes it worse.
Well,
in this opinion.
I'll let the internet judge me, as it famously does.
That doesn't seem like a wise move, but sure.
Go, Jed.
Yeah, I'm Jed. You might know me as the PlayStation guy, or the dude that doesn't shut up about Silent Hill.
And the cynic. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, and the cynic. Everything I'm cynical about. Yeah, I'm Mr. Disappointment. I'll suck all the fun out of anything.
And don't forget, number one Sonic fan.
I was just about to say, when you said cynic, I did think you were like mispronouncing Sonic on purpose.
Yeah, you wish. You wish.
I mean, they are quite close, right? Anyway, right, so for this first episode, we're not doing something too complicated. We thought that we would kick off the podcast around E3, you know, that small niche event that happens, well, usually once a year, but last year it was cancelled for COVID. Fortunately, this year we got our yearly dose of hype. There was high points and low points. Let's not talk about the Capcom showing. But
ouch.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't really a showing, was it? But we thought we'd pick out 10 of our high points just to be, you know, positive. They just revealed, they ended on esports. No, come on.
No, yeah, you're right.
2 minutes in, and we're trying to live up to our name. Love it.
Capcom, if you want any marketing deals, it's fine. Anyway, we picked, to be positive, anyway, we picked out our 10 high points of the 4 days of E3. The split between us, there's a few that we individually liked and a few that we all liked, which probably guess a few of those. But we're going to run through them, 10 of them, and hopefully you will enjoy. And we're going to kick off with one that I'd say we're all interested in, but to varying degrees, which was in the Nintendo Direct. When they said the word Metroid, I think a lot of people suddenly got excited. They said Metroid Prime 4 was still being worked on. It will come out one day, I'm sure. But as a, you know, to tide us over, they've announced a brand new 2D Metroid game called Metroid Dread, which is extremely exciting and probably the loudest I got during the 4 days. I mean, a brand new 2D Metroid is extremely exciting. I'm very able to go on about this for a long time, so I'll quickly ask your reactions to it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played a Metroid game before, but I'm very open to playing one. The most I've ever done is played as Samus in Smash. So I'm really looking forward to this. I have been intrigued by this and I'm quite excited to give this a go. And yeah, it just looks amazing. I don't think you can criticize it on how great it looks. They've clearly put in lots of time and effort.
A lot of time, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is an apology present to be like, hey, so we know that Prime 4, it keeps being pushed around, but please accept this 2D Metroid game. Please forget about Prime.
I mean, the last game in this timeline was Metroid Fusion, which is nearly 2 decades ago. So it's been quite a long time. But, better late than never.
And it was for Game Boy Advance, correct?
Yeah, it came out the same time as the first Metroid Prime on the GameCube, which gives you a time period of how long ago it was.
Gosh.
I think I'm going to hurt you both here, but
Oh, no.
I'm not that into this. I don't get what the hype is. I mean, I obviously understand Metroid's been absent for a while, and that the other game being semi-cancelled, restarted is obviously a big setback. But like, I've never really played Metroid either. It's not something that's appealed to me. But the sort of genre of games that it's kicked off in the Metroidvania, as they call it, they do, like, you know, so Ori and the is it the Blind Forest, and you know, that kind of vein of game. There's a lot of those around at the minute, and to be honest, in this trailer that they showed, I'm not really seeing anything I'm excited by personally. Like, there's not a lot here I'm into. So,
I mean, I think a lot of it for me is that they announced in their like development history video, they said that the same developers who did Samus Returns on the 3DS, which, if you don't know, was a remake of the second ever Metroid game, which was a Game Boy game called Metroid 2 Return of Samus. On the 3DS, they remade it. It was, I mean, the gameplay was just awesome. They completely understood what a Metroid game was. Like, they kind of brought it back to basics and added a few kind of athletic moves, like the counter, just general speed to it that made it feel really good. But the main kind of drawback was that it was on the 3DS around the time that the Switch was launching, and visually it was kind of immediately dated. And so now that same studio who clearly understood the game are now being given a brand new game to work on. They're called Mercury Steam. And now they've got I know it's not like a PS5, but they've got the extra graphical power of a Nintendo Switch to like flex their muscles a little bit. And that's extremely exciting to me.
Jed, can you, like, do you at least think it looks very pretty? I mean, it looks great. Really?
Does it? I think there are better looking games on, you know, the Switch. Well, like, obviously this is a trailer, that's all we've seen of it. But
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best looking Switch game ever, but
like, in terms of design and style, I don't like. Obviously I can tell you that's Samus, but
Samus.
Whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't. It's like even the robot in it.
Emmy,
yeah.
But the robot, right, that's supposed to be this dread thing that's like going to chase you around, whatever. Like, it just kind of looks a bit generic. Like, it doesn't. That could be any robot from any sci-fi thing, and I would believe you.
Yeah, I can see that bit, but like in the gameplay demo, I like how quick it was, and like the moment it sees Samus, it is properly after you. It wasn't really like a visual wow for me. It was more kind of watching them play it and seeing so much gameplay of it, and thinking, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. I know they just seem to be doing everything right.
Yeah, I mean, we still don't know too much about this game. I mean, Emmy could just be in a similar sort of vein as like the Guardians are in Breath of the Wild, where, you know, at first they're quite a difficult boss, or not even a boss, you know, they're a difficult enemy to take down, but as you progress through the dungeon or the underground facility, wherever I almost said Samus. I can't. Samus. There we go.
Yeah, Samus.
Yeah. So, you know, it could be that Emmy is just sort of this hard enemy, and it'll be that it is done a little bit basic, but that's just because there's going to be a multitude of them, and then other, you know, boss designs will be more detailed.
I think it's going to be one of those games that doesn't like completely break the mold, but kind of does everything really well. And I'm hoping that, I mean, Metroid's never sold amazingly well, but on the Switch, which is like around like 90 million install base now, like, I'm hoping it gets a lot of fans on board. And I'm sure Nintendo are too, considering they've got Metroid Prime 4 one day, maybe eventually coming out.
Maybe.
Who knows? It's being made somewhere in Texas, somewhere. We just about got the special edition in time, Stephen and I.
Yes.
I'm still hoping to get the amiibo, but it's not looking good. They just sell out in like seconds.
Have they all gone, like, completely?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Nintendo store.
The special edition, which is the base game, and it comes with a steelbook as well as a beautiful art book and some holographic printed cards of some of the like early pixel style from some of the earlier Metroid games. That's completely sold out. So if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, you won't be able to order one. You might be able to buy one for double the price on eBay from scalpers. But I'm not endorsing that.
If you're listening to this, you can't buy
I don't know. Not at all. But you can still buy the base game, and obviously it will be available on the eShop digitally. So
with that Nintendo tax, of course.
well, it's a Nintendo game.
Exactly.
I mean,
I will. I'm going to pressure Jed into playing it because I think you would really enjoy it if you like any Metroidvania games.
I'd play it, but I'm not rushing for it or anything. I think I just hope that in that, like you said, like the absence of it these like past few years, that it's not been outpaced by its competitors in like Ori and Dead Cells and stuff. And like you come to play it and it's just like this is just old. This is not up to date enough. Like this doesn't have anything new. And it just, it just sort of rests on its laurels a bit. I guess that's what I'm concerned with.
Well, I'm hoping that it kind of has some tricks up its sleeve because usually in Metroid games, you like start on the planet's surface and work your way down. But in this one, they made a point that you've kind of started at the bottom and you're working your way to the surface.
Okay.
And it's meant to end this like 5-game story arc that's gone on for like 30 years between the Metroids and Samus. So hopefully there's some dramatic ending stuff.
They made it sound like she was retiring and this is like her final escape.
No, we need more Metroid games. Right, well, talking of a sci-fi game that Jed would like, potentially, because it's made by Bethesda. One of Jed's picks is Starfield, which is the mysterious Bethesda Softworks new IP, the first new IP in like 25 years or something? You correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still kind of mysterious on it. A couple of years ago, Todd Howard showed us like a JPEG of a planet and was like, please be excited. It was like, okay. And this year we got a tiny bit more than that, but not that much more. But I'll let you say your thing, Jed.
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody loves a Bethesda game, right? Even though they're all basically broken. We love them for it, other than Fallout 76, obviously. But oof. I think, big oof. This is interesting because, like you said, it's their first foray into a new IP, which means I think they can inject a lot of new ideas, a lot of new concepts that they just would be too afraid to attach to things like Elder Scrolls or Fallout. And that is quite exciting because when you play things like Skyrim and, Fallout 4, obviously they're different games, but the similarities are hard to ignore. And I think a new IP is definitely the way to go for them. And I'm also particularly interested in it because it's set. I think the setting for it is really interesting. It's like this sci-fi thing about space exploration, but it's not like stupidly far in the future. I think when you look at the trailer,
we haven't seen like aliens or anything yet, right?
No, there's no. I mean, they've said that there'll be like other races and things in the game, but like there's no, crazy alien fighting or anything to be seen yet. It's still basically just sort of lunar landers and people in big clunky machines and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, I think you see the pilot get into their like cockpit and they've got like this big panel with all the buttons and stuff, and like that's really exciting. That's really cool. Because I'm a dork like that. But yeah, again, it's a bittersweet one because Xbox and PC exclusive, thanks to that Xbox and Bethesda deal.
Yeah,
not coming
that deal,
to PlayStation.
It kind of amazes me that like that. I mean, I know it's like a big deal that it's an exclusive now, but a few years ago, if you said that Microsoft were going to announce Starfield as an exclusive at that conference, people would say, "Oh my god." And lose their minds. But now it's like, oh yeah, it happened. Microsoft was an okay conference. It was fine. It's like people are already used to it now. It's kind of weird.
I think that they apologized as well for making it exclusive, which I thought was quite interesting. They did a press release afterwards, and I think both Todd Howard and Phil both apologized because they've both come out and said things about, open access to players and all that kind of thing, and like, I think when we were discussing before about whether it will be exclusive or not, we pointed out some of these things that they'd said, like Xbox was saying, like, we want to be open to all players and markets and stuff. So
it does go against that.
Yeah, it's going against it, but you can't really argue with the logic. They've bought Bethesda, put it on their system, make it exclusive, do it.
I mean, they kind of got to, haven't they? But yeah, it does go against the whole like, Xbox Game Pass, cloud gaming. Everyone can play anything anywhere. Yeah. But not this.
I mean, it's a bit of an odd one, but like, you can't escape the logic that they need to because I think Xbox has been suffering in its like first party kind of stuff, and
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
that's half the reason they spent so much money, I think. But yeah, this is a massive win.
Yeah. We were talking to, I guess, a friend of the show, Jordan, and our friend who says basically they might buy an Xbox now because they need to play Bethesda games.
Right.
They haven't got a gaming PC. And it's like, well, it's working already then, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think the purpose of that trailer was basically to say this is an Xbox exclusive because we didn't really see much other than like a character.
Yeah, it doesn't give a whole lot away. Like you get some of sort of the interior shots and things and, you know, talk about space exploration. But again, yeah, that's not really much to go on.
Are you kind of concerned? When do you think this game's coming out? Like really?
Well, they have given it a date, haven't they? November next year, right?
2022.
Yeah. So I could see them making that. This has been in development for a good long while now. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was delayed or anything, but I just hope that it delivers on a lot of its I don't want to say promise because they've not really promised much, but I just hope that it delivers basically after Fallout 76 and that fiasco for sure. Yeah.
Do you think that like they kind of have to release something polished at this point? Like they can't really afford another slip up in terms of their reputation?
I mean, this is the thing. It's a Bethesda game, right? It's gonna have issues, especially if there's any like online integration with it. It's gonna have issues. It's gonna be buggy. I don't think they're gonna ever escape that. I think that's just a quirk of their philosophy as a company.
Part of the charm.
I think that's too much to ask for.
Stephen, do you care about this game at all? I don't
know. Well, I've never played a Bethesda game.
We played a little bit of Wolfenstein on the Switch.
Oh, yeah. I take it back. I have played a little bit of Wolfenstein. I guess my only question to you, Jed, is like, do you think that we've seen things like Wolfenstein and Elder Scrolls later on so they then get a release for the Nintendo Switch? Do we think Starfield will eventually get that, or do we think that the power of the Switch won't hold up to this new big project by Bethesda?
I can't see this making its way to the Switch anytime soon.
Also, the exclusivity thing, right?
Yeah, especially with the exclusive thing. That's not if that's happening, it would be like a cloud version style thing. But the issue with that is if it's going to turn up on other platforms, then it would have to turn up on PlayStation, and that means Xbox have to allow it to go to PlayStation, which could happen, but it just becomes.
I think it'll stay Xbox and PC.
I mean, they've done that before with other games. Like, wasn't Cuphead?
And Ori. But I think, I don't know. I can't see it happening.
I mean,
I can't see it happening.
It could be like 2025 after they finally get Halo off the ground and everything else running. But
we don't talk about Halo.
Sorry. I mean, from the trailer, we didn't get much. It looks cool, but I only have a Switch and a PlayStation. There's nothing that's like drawing me in so far that I need to play this game. But it looks cool, and I'm glad that you're excited, Jed.
That's what matters.
I'm glad that you're excited.
I didn't mean it like that. Come on, guys.
Okay, well, the next game is one that Steven's excited for.
Yay.
So introduce your pick, Steven.
So I really liked Toem. It's made by developer Something We Made. It's this beautiful, like, hand-drawn indie adventure game where you basically go exploring and you solve people's problems by taking pictures. This just looks really cool. I like the sort of like little comedic dialogue. I like the fact that everything is just this simple illustrative style. And I really like that it's like just black and white, because it really, for me, it makes you focus more on like, oh, I'll take a picture of that because it's something that stands out in the scenery, as opposed to if this was maybe beautifully colored and detailed, you might walk past like a flower, for example, and be like, oh, well, it's just a white flower, there were loads back there.
Right, yeah.
But this causes you to look more at the scenery and the landscape and think, oh, if I take a picture of this, what will happen? And by doing it, like a bumblebee might come out and like you manage to snap that. And yeah, it's planned for a 2021 release. No date yet, but I'm hoping it also comes to Switch. I think this is the sort of game that would do really well.
Definitely, yeah.
And also like the music and the soundtrack was just really chill. So I can see people just like pulling this out, casually playing, doing some little puzzle solvers, having a laugh at the dialogue. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's just because of Pokemon Snap coming out recently, but I feel like there's loads more like photo taking games coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something to do with photo modes being more popular too. But this does stand out because of the art style being black and white. And like the cute interactions, like solving people's problems by taking pictures of them. I
did like as well that in the trailer we saw the character, should I say, take a picture of someone, and it went from this simple black and white line illustration to like almost photorealistic, like with shading and grey tones, and they were like, "How do I look?" And
that's cool.
It was just one of those like really fun little moments that is probably just like for that interaction. And it'd be quite fun to see what else they do. Maybe there is like a character who talks about like, off the top of my head, says something about being colorblind, and then you take a picture and it comes out in beautiful color, and like that's the only picture that comes out in color. But then when you give it to that character, he's like, yes, lovely shades of gray, just like the rest of our world, blah blah blah. It could be a funny little quip, and that's the only interaction. But yeah, it looks very laid back, very just go with the flow, no like real plot or anything. It's just a fun little peaceful game.
Nice little excursion.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you before though, I think when I saw it, it's just like I was begging for it to be in color. Like I was waiting for that bit in the trailer where like everything just goes like super bloom and like all the colors come in or something, and it didn't happen. And well, I get what you're saying about like the black and white might help you like with a composition and like noticing smaller things. It just, I still think I just want like the super vibrant jolliness to come from the color in it. And I think what's stopping me from like really liking this is just the black and white thing. I can't get past it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair enough, but I think if it was in color, it might struggle to stand out. And that's probably why they went with the aesthetic of just, black and white, simple line drawings, because visually this does stand out and you will notice it. Whereas, if you made it full color, really like saturated with pastels and vibrant neons, it might just look a bit naff. And like I said, like some people might see it and go, oh, well, I'm not into that pastel aesthetic. Oh, I'm not into like hyper neons. So by keeping it black and white, I think that was maybe a stylistic choice to reach more people and have it more solely focused on like the puzzle solving aspect. But,
I think it definitely did stand out. Like I remember it quite vividly amongst the like ton of indie announcements.
True.
I think it's a good example of kind of the variety you can get from those showcases. There's a lot more kind of indie collections than I remember at other E3s, and I was quite impressed by the range of art directions on show. And this was one of those.
It's probably to the benefit of quite a lot of indie games that working from home over this past year, like you're not relying on massive teams or collaborating over like emails and such. It's probably is like, a handful of you, and then as restrictions lifted in various places, you probably could have met up, and that was probably to a lot of indie developers like benefit. So, and I love indie games, so I'm glad that we got to see loads.
Speaking of kind of art styles, and maybe it's shallow of us that art styles can do so much, but I think it is a big part of the appeal of these games. During the Guerrilla Collective, which is one of these indie showcases with a collection of games by smaller teams that maybe you hadn't heard of before. One that really stood out was one called Hunt the Night, which was, there's a lot of kind of top-down combat-based games, kind of, focused on just kind of working your way through dungeons, getting past all the monsters, that sort of thing. So it's not completely innovative on the gameplay front, but the whole package of it really appealed to me. It's set in like a dark fantasy world. It's got this sort of Souls-like Castlevania-esque vibe. And the plot of it is that you're playing as Vesper, who's a member of the Stalkers. And basically in this world called Medrum, humans thrive in the daylight, but whenever night falls, creatures come out and just like massacre the world. So it's quite extreme. And they made a sort of a deal where the Stalkers managed to suspend the entire world in sunlight for a long time so monsters could not come out. But the consequence of that is that at the end of it, there's now this really long nightfall where the monsters are coming out and just wreaking havoc continuously. And now playing as Vesper, you've got to work your way through the world, taking down all these monsters and kind of attempting to, save the world, but with everything kind of falling apart around you, and you're battling with swords and bows, the kind of thing that gets me very excited, some archery. It's just me. And, you got these loadouts that are highly customizable. You're equipping different gear, and it just looks really deep gameplay wise. And the pixel art style that's kind of sprite based is beautiful. You've got brilliant character designs. I mean, the main character Vesper looks like the champion Cynthia from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, like as if she became like a demon hunter, which is a big yes. And it just looks entirely my vibe, something I can totally get into, sort of like Hades did last year, when I kind of just fell into a game for a long time. I wanted to train into mastering it, So this is just a completely William game in terms of everything about it. The character designs, big fantasy world, and fast-paced combat. So I am totally into it. I don't know if it made any impression on anyone else, but this was totally for me.
Yeah, no, it really stood out to me as well. That retro feel is really cool, and the boss designs look really unique. Like, you've got the giant snake on top of a mountain, and like it's paired with like a corpse or something, and the way it like glows and fires out like a beam of light that you have to avoid. I thought this looked really fun as well, and I'd definitely give it a go. I think it's, like you said, similar to that fast pace of Hades, but I think it's less of a roguelite and more of, a traditional
just like one big world
RPG. You pick up weapons and learn skills and whatnot. But yeah, it looks sort of fun.
I'm really hoping it kind of delivers on the trailer, but we'll see.
I really like the bosses in it, or the look of the enemies and stuff. That weird, dark, Lovecraftian sort of vampires, and like you're saying about the snake with the laser beam and stuff. Like, that's just so cool.
The one that like crisscrosses across the island.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, that looks
I'm
good.
like, I can't wait to dodge that.
There's also a werewolf, so I approve.
Exactly.
Steven's in.
I'm in.
And a really nice looking tree. That was good. Really nice.
Wait, what?
Nice tree.
It was a nice, like a big maple tree with like loads of really nice. Anyway, it's off track.
I don't remember the maple tree. I'm sorry.
Top 5 trees in games. I mean, basically put simply, that's why I'm excited about it. And hopefully it's as good as I hope it will be, but we'll see. I don't think there's a date on it yet.
There's no.
I think it's just kind of coming
no
soon.
release date, but they said it was going to come to PC and I believe all consoles. So big yes.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. Even the Vita. No? Okay.
Ouch.
The next one's kind of another. I think it was also from the Guerrilla Showcase, but it was shown in a bunch of things. Death's Door, which is another. I mean, it's similar in that it's another relatively top-down isometric view, kind of dungeon crawler. We don't think it's a roguelike. It's not clear yet.
No.
But you're basically playing as, is it an owl or crow?
A crow.
I mean, it's a crow.
Yeah. They describe it as a action adventure RPG. And it's all around this crow who reaps the souls of the dead. And one day...
But it's a lot more charming than that sounds.
Well, yeah, and, it's his, 9-to-5 office job. But one day, a soul goes missing, and you set out on an adventure to retrieve that soul. This is developed by Acid Nerve, who is a 2-person team from Manchester. And honestly, wow. Like, for 2 people to have programmed, designed, composed the music, animated, do all the sound design, this looks incredible.
It makes me think I should work harder.
Yeah, what are we doing with our lives? There's 3 of us. We could have done a game.
Exactly. Got 1 person to spare.
Yeah, no, I think it's coming quite soon, actually, isn't it? June 20th, but
yeah,
only planned for Xbox and PC. So hopefully they bring it to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, because
I feel like it will.
I mean, it looks so much fun. From like the little character designs of this tiny little crow with his like glowing sword to
looks like a lightsaber. It's great.
Yeah, to like the variety of enemy bosses where you've got like a cranky toad all the way to like a moving castle. I mean, yeah.
I was going to say,
it's very The Legend of Zelda.
That castle looked great, like fighting that little Howl's Moving Castle style thing.
Yeah.
That looks brilliant.
And it's so detailed as well. It's got this quaint little charm to it where like all the characters feel really considered, and there's like just some nice little dialogue and hopefully some really cool world building that we get to learn as we play.
Yeah, it's like that just juxtaposition of you've got like the crow hunting a soul, but then like it's their office job and you're meeting these like wacky characters along the way. And it all looks kind of like handcrafted, like almost like clay. So I don't know, like I say, it reminds me a lot of The Legend of Zelda, like the classic games or the newer like 2D ones like Link's Awakening.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that sort of like shiny claymation look to it, and it doesn't feel kidified in a way. Like it feels feels like a game that anyone could pick up and play. But I get what you're saying, like it is that top down like 3/4 angle, and what I appreciate as well, quite a lot of like 3/4 angled games, some of them I find don't get the sort of like the zoomed inness or the crop of it quite right, and sometimes you find yourself too far out or too far in. But this looks like a perfect view for me. Like it feels like I can see just enough without wondering where my character is and him getting like lost within like the scenery or the battles. So yeah.
And the combat looks really nice in it as well, actually. The combat looks quite tight. There's quite a few sort of dodge rolls and things in the trailer as well.
I do love a dodge roll.
You gotta love a dodge roll. Classic moveset.
I mean, like Hades. What would Hades be without a dodge roll?
Exactly.
This also has a multitude of weapons. So it's not just this lightsaber sword. We see him use like a grappling hook, a bow and arrow.
Yep.
So I'm quite excited to see what type of weapons we get, and if it's a case of, you can pick and choose, or, well, no, that's stupid. Of course you can pick and choose. Yeah, no, I like that ability to switch out if you prefer to do some ranged attacks.
Yeah, it looks, I mean, similar to Hunt the Night. It seems like it might have that Hades quality of like just being quite addictive to play and just sink the hours in. But I don't know, it depends how much is in there, because like we say, it doesn't look like a roguelike. So we'll see how long it is. But it's not long to wait, July 20th. So
nice.
So there, we are 5 games into the 10, so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a second. Welcome back to the Friendly Fire podcast, the first episode where we are running through our top 10 games shown at E3 2021. We're on to the second 5 now for the second part. And we're kicking off with Elden Ring, which is a From Software game that is a very, very Jed game. So I'll let you take it from here.
Miyazaki's back, baby. He's back. A glorious Souls-style game. So we haven't seen Elden Ring for quite some time, and we've been asking for it on the internet for, I feel like, every year since it first showed. And I think in 2017, I think was the first showing of it, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But basically, we've all been chanting for Elden Ring news, and nothing's come. Nothing's happened until this E3 when it finally showed itself. And Jeff Keighley is free from gamer prison. Finally, we got to see it. So,
He loves it.
This game looks just mental. It looks crazy. It looks like every Souls game and Bloodborne and Sekiro combined, all wound up into one with a crazy horse combat traversal thing going on, and it just looks beautiful.
I mean, the horse jumps were they're something.
The horse jumps are majestic. They're beautiful.
They never come
They are
down.
beautiful. He just goes up.
You've also got George R.R. Martin, who it seems is no longer writing Game of Thrones novels, and
Doesn't mean they finished them though.
well, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, he's collaborated with Miyazaki on this, so it'd be interesting to see how much of his input goes into this game.
I mean, the stories of these games are always so convoluted and twisted and hidden, and there's so many like hidden references and tiny tidbits of information that don't even matter really, but they're there for the communities of players that just go and find like every single tiny minuscule detail they can find. And I feel like George R. R. Martin is probably a great shout for that. Like, this world building that can go on behind the scenes is just going to go to another level, I think. And I think that's why we're all so excited for it, because it just looks like a proper good video game. Like, it looks like a good jaunt. I know that all these fights, they're going to make us cry. They're going to make us hurt. They're going to be painful. But
in a good way or in a painful way?
Oh, definitely in a painful way. Definitely in a painful way.
You sadist.
But that's why I'm here. That's what we're here for. That's what we signed up for.
You have given written consent to Miyazaki. You said, please hurt us.
Given it spoken consent now.
Yep.
I was going to say, like, I've only played a little bit of the From Software games, like a bit of Bloodborne, which half of that was you helping me survive, Jed. So I got like a vague idea of what they're about and kind of the brutalness of it. Not as much as you, but I think the thing that stood out for this was just like the art direction, which looks completely out there. Like the colors and the creature design look ridiculous, like Lord of the Rings, like on steroids or something. I'm intrigued, like, because I don't usually play these games urgently, but I don't know. This definitely stands out more than say like Sekiro did to me, where it's like very far down my list. So if it comes out and there's like a really good reception for it, then maybe I'll jump in.
There's also another big lady, and we know how popular big ladies are in video games.
Oh, they're so hot right now. They're so in.
It's the in thing. Big lady.
And this one's ginger, so maybe, well, you'll play this game.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Maybe you'll play this game a lot quicker.
Maybe.
Can we tempt you to get this, Stephen? Or is this a no-go?
I don't think it's really my thing. Like, I don't know.
You haven't tried it though. Maybe you are a sadist and you just don't know it.
I am a sadist, but no. I don't know. I don't know much about the story, so there isn't anything that's like drawing me to it at the moment.
Right.
I mean, is this connected to Dark Souls, Jed, or is it like a brand new story thing?
So no, this is not connected to Dark Souls in any way, shape, or form. But there is kind of a bit like how those people would like try and link all of the Pixar films together.
Right.
There's this kind of rumination that like they're all subtly linked in like weird ways, and you know, there's some
like Black Mirror or something
to some degree. But no, this is its own thing.
Side note: that Pixar theory is bizarre because it'll be like, oh, the pizza planet car in Toy Story turns up as a car in Cars, but then in Wall-E you see it in a junkyard. And it's
Maybe they could do like a Pixar from software game. That'd be good.
But yeah, no, I mean, this isn't speaking to me. I get why people are excited about it, and it does look pretty cool, but I've never played any Soul games or anything, so you know, I might give it a go, but I'm not rushing towards it.
I mean, they can be pretty unwelcoming to new players, to put it nicely. I mean, like when Demon's Souls first came out on the PS3, and that's the game that sort of ignited this Souls era. It didn't initially receive very well, and I think it sort of slowly sort of snowballed into a thing. But like, yeah, the menus and the character creation and like things are kind of not explained to you. The tutorials are very,
Fashion
very
Souls,
basic.
you said? Yeah, that's it. Fashion Souls.
Fashion Souls. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all about Fashion Souls. Like, give up on the stats. Give up on like what actual character builds are going. You have to make yourself look good.
Of course.
Like, first
always.
and foremost. 100%.
So it's coming out in January, right? That seems quite solid.
Yeah. So this is the only thing. It's been in development for a long time now, but I don't see it making that January 21st. Or maybe I'm just too cynical.
Maybe.
I mean, I want it to come out January 21st, but
it's quite a specific date though, so maybe they're optimistic.
I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't make that.
Right, yeah.
Isn't Pokemon Legend of Arceus also coming out January 21st?
I mean, they're very similar games.
No, well, I just meant like
which will you play?
Well, I think there's a lot of concern around that game as well. Like from the little we've seen, people are a bit concerned that won't be finished for January as well. So I don't know. I mean, they've got 6 months. It could be done.
I mean, sometimes these things are like placeholder dates to like signify to their shareholders they want to get it out before March for the fiscal year. But I don't know. Well, I also love that you managed to find a way to get Pokemon into a conversation about Elden Ring, Stephen. That's quite impressive.
I don't know anything about Dark Souls, but Soul Dew, I do.
Oh dear.
Ouch.
That's a Pokemon item, Judge, just so you know.
Oh, God. Okay.
Let's move on.
Right. Next one's one. I mean, I'm excited for it, but maybe not others. But A Plague Tale Requiem, which was quite a surprise reveal in the Microsoft showing. Like straight after a different trailer, we just got like a kind of a blind cut into an alleyway, which with like some mysterious voiceovers, and then like a flood of rats came in, and it's like, oh, okay, this is A Plague Tale. Because the first game, A Plague Tale Innocence, was kind of known for its swarms of rats. It's based in the 1300s in France. And it's kind of a mixture of historical story and supernatural story. So you're playing as Amicia de Rune of the de Rune family, and basically her family is attacked by the Inquisition soldiers around there who are after her little brother Hugo for some unknown reason, but he's got some sort of mysterious illness, and you've basically got to protect him as you escape your family home and attempt to survive amongst swarms of rats taking over France and also the Inquisition hunting you. It's kind of got that Last of Us sort of vibe of kind of protecting someone around you. And it's got quite good production value as well. I'm quite impressed. It's by a Sobo studio who are based in France as well. So it's kind of got a unique kind of perspective to it. I haven't quite finished it. I started it on Game Pass recently, the first game. But I've really enjoyed what I played. So it was quite exciting to see a sequel announced. It's a bit of a spoiler because I haven't finished it yet. And I'm like, oh, okay, they live then. But it's fine. It's fine. They look a bit older now. It seems that there's still Inquisition people after her brother. She's got a crossbow now, which is nearly a bow, so that's good. That's a step up from... In the first game, she has like a sling. Like her father trained her to use a sling when she was younger. And like you start... That's like the main problem I have with that game is that you start like just using the sling to kill loads of adult soldiers, and it's like, oh, she's very accurate, this Amicia. But we didn't really get many details. It was very much a teaser trailer. But I'm excited for more of the game because I really enjoyed the first one. And that's basically it, really. It was kind of one of those shock reveals that I don't think we got too much of the C3. I felt like we got a lot of kind of safe announcements, and it was nice to get surprised by one.
There's going to be more rats as well. We saw
More rats.
big wave of rats.
I mean, there's quite a lot of rats in the first game, so I don't know how they're going to top it.
That big, like, street load of rats is quite impressive. That's quite fun. I like that.
I don't think I've seen any like waves of rats, but I also think that might just be like a cinematic trailer thing. I don't know if that'll actually happen in the game.
Have you had to face like a rat king yet?
Not like one big rat, no, just like loads of little rats.
No, like a rat king is when like in the sewer and the muck and stuff, like these rats fuse to each other, like their tails get knotted or they like stick to each other because of what they've been walking through.
Yeah, not yet, but I haven't got to the end of the game yet, so we'll see. I think I'm quite late on. There is, okay. I mean, it's quite a dark game in places. Like you have to like distract a swarm of rats by like offering like a pig to them. It's like, oh dear, you can't avoid it. And you're like your little brother's being like, what's happening to the pig in this year? It's like, oh dear.
What sort of game is this though? Like, what? I don't really understand what the gameplay is. Like, what do you actually do?
Third person, like over the shoulder game. Think a lot of like Sony exclusives. It's based on stealth, so you've got your sling, like I mentioned, but it's very much last resort. Most of the game is about stealth and sneaking past Inquisition soldiers to get where you need to go. You meet some like rogue factions that help you with that stealth.
Okay.
So you kind of split up into these stealth sections avoiding the Inquisition, and then the rat sections, which are based around kind of forging like paths of light through the rats because they're avoiding fire, patches of light that you can create. And you've got a few different tools to do that with like, later in the game, you get like fire you can throw to light torches further away from you, that sort of thing. So it's kind of got a nice mix of stuff, sort of like The Last of Us has some clicker sections, some human sections to get some variety. But I'd say it's mainly stealth more than combat. So I don't know if that kind of thing's for you. I would recommend it. It's very enjoyable.
I mean, is there anything in like the sequel that you're hoping that they add onto or build onto, or like, is it just you would just want to see more rats? Like what?
Well, no, I mean, my main thing was kind of like I mentioned, the sling is a bit like it breaks the immersion a bit because you're using this sling to kill loads of people attacking you. It's kind of a bit like, okay, this is a bit much. So I was hoping for a bit more variety to the combat, a bit more, I don't know, believability. And it looks like they've kind of tackled that because it looks like Amicia's more grown up. Got like the crossbow now, which kind of suggests a different range of weaponry. So we'll see, but it's promising.
What is she firing in the slingshot? Because if it's like
rocks at times, just like at people's heads. It's like, oh dear.
Can you fire rats at people?
No, but I haven't finished the game yet. We'll see. But you get like, there's like distraction things. There's like sulfur that like makes people have to take their helmets off, so then you can hit them with rocks.
Okay, that's clever.
Like fire bolts you throw to like light torches to create paths through the rats where you couldn't have otherwise. I just recently got to a point where you get like this like alchemy material that like attracts rat swarms, so you fire against a wall, and for like 5 seconds they'll run there, but you've got to then like sprint through because you don't get much time in the rats. Like if they start eating you, like you're gone.
Jeez,
it's pretty harsh. But yeah, it's a nice variety.
Do you think the brother will have more of a role in this sequel? Do you think you'll be able to play as him, perhaps?
I don't know if you'd play as him because I feel like Amicia's very much set up as the main character in the first one. And I don't know. And it doesn't look like they've grown up that much. Like he's still quite a young kid. So I don't know. I can't imagine playing as him. I think there'll be a different dynamic because in the trailer, the few bits of dialogue we did get suggest that he might be connected to why the rats are even happening, like his illness. And so it's then like, you're protecting people from attacking him, but then you're protecting the source of the rats potentially. I don't know. It's all theory at this point. I don't want to go into too much of a tangent.
This is where like he's actually like the Pan Piper or something.
Actually, a big rat.
Yeah, he's a big rat. Your brother's a big rat. Big reveal.
I don't have much more to say. What's next on our list? We've got Sea of Thieves. Not a new game, but a new expansion, if you like.
So they're adding Jack Sparrow to Sea of Thieves. And like when this was unveiled in the Xbox showcase, I think we were all joking. I think we were all just,
We literally were, yeah.
doing Pirates of the Caribbean quotes to each other. And then it turned out it actually is. It is that. And then it sort of all makes sense, right? Like, if this, I think we're all kind of surprised as to like why this doesn't exist in game already.
Yeah, it did make you think, why didn't it happen sooner?
Yeah, it seems like a dream.
It'll be down to like Disney holding the rights to Pirates of the Caribbean.
But Disney are known for being so flexible with their rights.
I mean, they're better than Nintendo suing everyone left, right, and center.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it is a very clever move to like combine these two worlds, and you know, God knows, you've got like, what is it, 5 movies? Did they end up doing?
Yeah.
I think they haven't finished yet either.
Well, yeah, you've got all these movies and all these characters, and obviously, like Jack Sparrow is quite a iconic character. Yeah. It looks fun.
There is a bit of a quirk to this though, in that I have recently discovered as well, because it released just a couple of days ago, and it released free. It's not paid, so it's just an update to the game. They've added 5 new tool tales to the game, which are like the sort of main sort of missions that you sort of cooperate with your crew on. But something that we've noticed is that it's not actually Pirates of the Caribbean, which is quite strange. Oh. It's a Disney like collab, and it's got Jack Sparrow in it, but there's not really any mention of Pirates of the Caribbean in it. Like, the Black Pearl is not the Black Pearl in this game. It's sort of renamed.
So is it more just like the characters are there?
Yeah, it's a bit odd. So I think it's because the licensing is based on the Disney ride, like the attraction, the sort of the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, and has less of an association with the films.
Okay.
So in that regards, this has been a little bit disappointing, but I mean, they've collaborated with Disney, and as we all know, that's a bit of a nightmare in itself.
It's amazing they got this far already.
Yeah. But it's good fun. I've played the first Tool Tale. It's got like a more of an original story to it. You meet Jack Sparrow. He's quite fun. And I think it's adding a bit more sort of enemy variety and stuff to the game, which I think is quite sorely needed.
Yeah, definitely.
As a side note, when Sea of Thieves was first shown off, way back when, it was genuinely making me question whether I need to get an Xbox, because this was an Xbox exclusive. And it launched.
But then they put it on PC.
And it was all a bit empty. A lot of people accused it of being like a disguised early access game.
Yeah.
Where features were sort of held back and withheld. And I think that's true to some extent. I mean, they only just started with their like sort of season content drops a few months ago.
Yeah.
And the game's been out for years now. But it still has a really strong community, and there's still a lot to do in the game, and I still love to dive into it. And like I said, yeah, this is a sort of a dream collab that as soon as they announced it, it's just like, well, why didn't this exist before? Of course.
I think it's the sort of thing that can get people to come back. Like, I felt like I got it recently, Sea of Thieves. I mean, it doesn't feel like it has that much content anyway, so I don't know what it was like 3 years ago. It's the kind of thing that would tempt me to re-download it on Game Pass and give it another shot. So in that way, this was a success, I think.
I mean, we're always looking for new crew members.
I know. I mean, I've been there before. Come on. Unless you're talking to Steven.
Nah.
No, he's not yet. He doesn't want it.
I mean, I enjoy watching you guys play, but it feels like one of those ones where it's like, I have to get used to a whole new system, and I'm making up excuses, I know, but I'm not. I'll watch you guys play, but yeah.
It's one of those games that can like hurt friendships, I think.
Oh yeah.
I've been on the boat with Toby and Jed sometimes, and it gets a bit frictious.
Just leave him behind. Just sail away. That's what I do.
Such good friends. Do you think there's like enough? Like, you've mentioned you started it. Do you think there's much content to this? Like, do you think you're going to blast through it really quickly, or is it more of a long-term thing?
Well, so I haven't quite experienced how some of this stuff like integrates into the more open world aspect. So like I've encountered a few new enemy types on this mission, but I don't know if they are exclusive to that mission or if I just, went into the open world, they'd pop up sandbox style. I don't know. I hope they do, because if they don't, it feels like a massive missed opportunity because enemy variety in this game was sorely lacking.
Are the enemies like tied to the Disney thing? Because that might stop that happening.
Well, they're like sort of crustacean themed enemies from like the Davy Jones Flying Dutchman crew. So there's like a crab dude, there's like an electric eel that has like a ranged attack, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the thing. I don't know if they're exclusive to those missions or if they'll crop up elsewhere.
Okay. We only have to keep playing and find out, right? Right. Next up is, that wasn't a Steven game, clearly, by that reaction. But next one is a Steven game, Advance Wars. So why'd you pick this, Steven?
Well, at first, I saw this and I didn't know anything about Advance Wars. And I just thought, oh, okay, it's a bit like Fire Emblem. It's a, turn-based tactical video game. And the series itself has existed for years now, from like humble beginnings on like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. And then it seems like there's been lots of varieties of it, and it's gone from like Famicom Wars to Advance Wars to just Wars. But yeah, the more I looked into it, the more I actually like started to enjoy it more and actually get more excited about it. Interestingly enough, like this game was developed by Intelligent Systems, who are the same people who have developed Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I have logged enough hours into Fire Emblem.
How many hours is that, Steve?
Gosh, honestly, I think I'm in like a 300 mark, probably.
Ooh, nice.
Like, I've done like 2 runs of the best house, which is Golden Deer. I've done both the Black Eagle house runs, and I've done the DLC. I do need to do Blue Lions at some point, and I was getting the itch to return back to like a turn-based game.
Well, maybe this will do it for you instead then, yeah.
And yeah, I think it looks really fun. I mean, you don't have magic. It is a bit more of a military-themed game, so you've got tanks, soldiers, helicopters, etc. But again, I think it looks fun, and there's definitely lots of thinking to be done and more strategy involved about whether you bypass a load of enemies so that you can instantly capture their base quickly, or do you progress slowly, capturing cities as you go along so that you can boost up like your like power attack that each character has. I
think for a long time, these, like you say, they're both by Intelligent Systems. They were like running side by side as Nintendo's like strategy games, where you had Fire Emblem that was the fantasy game that was more about the individual characters because you had the permadeath mechanic and like you could lose characters in that emotional bond. And then Advance Wars, which was the military one that was more just about throwing units at it. Like you don't have that same emotional connection to like some tanks you spawn in, sort of thing. But when the one I played the most of was Dual Conflict on the DS, and I think that was actually the last one till this remaster. So it's been a long time. Fire Emblem has kind of taken on the strategy mantle for Nintendo, I think. So there had been a lot of people asking for Advance Wars to come back. So I think this might be a tester for that because they're doing remakes. So maybe they're seeing if there is an audience to bring back the series for a new game. I don't know. But it's a good announcement.
I definitely think there's probably room for both of those to exist, right? They're quite a different ends of the spectrum on the sort of tactical scenario, right?
For sure.
Yeah, and I think, Will said it perfectly. Like, Fire Emblem is all about fantasy and it's more character focused, whereas Advance Wars, you have like your generals and they're the characters, but then your units itself are just, a generic tank, a generic soldier.
Yeah.
But, quite funny enough, if it wasn't for Advance Wars, we wouldn't have Fire Emblem in the West, because both of these games were very popular in Japan and they were very skeptical at how strategy tactic games would fare in the West. So they sort of pushed Advance Wars out into the West, hoping that the military aspect would appeal to us more. And it made a big hit. And then because it did so well, Japan started releasing Fire Emblem outside of Japan. So if it wasn't for Advance Wars, we wouldn't have all our favorites that we now fawn over in free houses.
So basically, you're saying that they sent like tanks and stuff ahead to lay the groundwork for bringing all the anime over.
Yeah, they said, have all these guns, and now have a magical girl who's secretly a dragon. It's like, wait,
That's
what?
how you invade. That's how you do it.
I will say, like, I didn't love the art style of these remakes. Like, when I watched the trailer, I think a lot of the hype I would have had for an Advance Wars remake kind of was dissipated by the cartoonish look. Like, I didn't love it.
Yeah, I think that's something that stood out to me as well, and that's why at first I was a bit like, oh, okay, it's like Fire Emblem, but the style itself, like, it's very, it's got that shiny plasticky look to it on the units, and then the characters themselves are just flat drawings, whereas in the Game Boy versions they're obviously pixel art, and that lifts it a bit more because it's got that retro style to it, whereas I feel they maybe could have, spent a bit more if they did a different style, but, I'm not that mad.
I mean, yeah, if you look at like Free Houses and I know there's like those dodgy backgrounds, but like the production value in that game compared to like this, you can tell they're not as confident in an Advance Wars remake. But, it's just a tester, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, this is testing the waters. It's a remake of a Game Boy Advance game that only came out in Japan. I think 1 and 2 came out separately in the West, but in Japan they did this 1-2 combo pack for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I think if this does really well, who knows? Maybe we'll get anime-styled like military officers being like, "Do you want to invade a country together?"
Anime war games. That's what you want, right?
What we need is someone with the sex appeal of Edelgard being like,
"Oh God,
do you want to destroy the country together?" And the whole internet will just be like, "Yes, let's kill everybody, Edelgard. I'll follow you till the end."
I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds
character
great.
that everyone loves from Fire Emblem Free Houses, but they actually just stab you in the back at the end, so I don't understand. Anyway, tangent.
That's why you go with Claude. Claude's the best.
I will say that it gets bonus points for the pun in the name. Reboot Camp is a great name.
Yes.
It's a good title. Fun. It's a good title.
I wonder how many meetings I had about that. I'd like to.
But yeah, no, it's planned for release December 3rd of this year.
Nice. It's a good end of year game.
Nice sort of Christmas game, I think.
Nothing says Christmas like blowing apart enemy war forces.
War.
Exactly.
Nothing says Christmas like war.
War. Escape the family wars.
It's alright though, because it's cartoony, so it's fine.
Yeah. Jed, what do you think? Is this something that you might give a go?
It doesn't massively appeal to me. I like a sort of tactical war thing every now and then, but I mean, my heart's with like the XCOM games. This looks a bit sort of bubble bath war. It doesn't really appeal to me.
Bubble bath war. That was the second choice for the name, actually.
I haven't played the Fire Emblem games either, so I don't really know what you're talking about. But I respect like if it's the same team and the same pedigree. Like I know those games sold really well, so yeah.
It's not the same team making this, is it?
Yeah,
it's Way Forward.
Way Forward have actually developed this. Who are the same people behind the Shantae remakes?
Shantae.
Okay.
Not Shantae. Shantae like CFUs.
But it came from Intelligent Systems, and it's just Way Forward who have modernized it for the Switch.
Actually, that art style makes a lot of sense when you say Shantae. It's got that vibe.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think they've obviously built it from the ground up, but they've obviously used the original games as a guide in terms of like the characters and the whole systems.
I think it looks just a little bit too sort of simplified, a bit too basic. I'm sure it, it has its own sort of difficulty curve and everything, but I'm not really after that, I don't think.
If it actually has like the difficulty to it that I know from my brief time of Advance Wars, then it might be really good, like underneath the surface, I think. But we'll see.
Okay.
I am put off by that art style.
I will say I had a lot of these thoughts originally, but watching some of the Treehouse gameplay, it changed my mind a lot. Like the way that they went into specific moves and how, like, oh, if I block this, I won't be I can distract his fighter jets, which then allows me to go around the back. And so, I would suggest watching maybe some of the Treehouse gameplay of it, and
I think
might
a lot of
change
it would
your
be
mind.
the price point as well. I don't know if we know yet, but if it's like a $49.99 game, I think that might be asking a lot.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be joining the club if it's full price.
If it was discounted, I'd be much more likely to pay it.
Currently, it is up for pre-order for $49.99.
Ooh.
It is 2 games though.
But they are quite old games.
2 games that I'm not sure on.
I think the original game also had like a map builder where you could like
that sounds right.
build your own sceneries and situations for you to traverse. But
I just remember constantly failing on the DS version. That's my main memory. It's getting destroyed. Is there anything else you want to say on that, Stephen? Or
the big guy with blue hair is cool.
Next one.
Moving on.
So our final game. Sorry, no, Stephen, you're censored.
I didn't say. I just said he was cool.
Okay. So the last one we're going to talk about is the one that also kind of ended E3. The one we were all kind of waiting for, which was the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which was formally announced 2 years ago at E3. We haven't heard anything about it since then, but earlier in the year, Nintendo did say they were going to talk about it this year, and they did end the Nintendo Direct with another short reveal. It was quite short, but we saw a little bit of gameplay. It started with a few more shots of that mysterious cutscene where like Princess Zelda and Link are seemingly going underground in Hyrule to look at what might be Ganondorf's corpse. And then something clearly goes very wrong. We see Zelda falling down into the abyss. Link has something going on with his arm. We don't really know what's going on, but then we see Link just falling into Hyrule from very high above through the clouds, Skyward Sword style, which looks super cool. What they've done to the world, which we were kind of theorizing about, is they're lifting up certain sections of the Hyrule Kingdom. So we've got like these floating islands that must be connected in some way, that we're seeing like little gates on them. There might be transport gates. We don't know. But basically they've done an exploded view of Hyrule. So it's that massive open world that we loved, but with more layers to it. We clearly have more to see. It was a very short trailer. But it looks intriguing. What do you think of it?
I mean, it was a short trailer, but you can bet that we watched that several times.
Immediately in slow motion. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at every single detail. I mean, wow. I can't express how excited I am for this. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited to play. It looks great. I think it is going to live up to its predecessor. And, I really appreciate the details, such as like, it looks like now the glyphs that we use through the Sheikah Slate, like stasis and bombs, it looks like they're slightly changing, because we get that scene
got some new ones.
The stasis freezes an object, but it also rewinds it backwards. That could be fun to see if that's connected to the new arm that Link is sporting. I would also be very interested to see where this fits in with the timeline. I want to know, is this, a few years later after the events of Breath of the Wild? Or is this an alternative timeline linked to the events that happen in Hyrule Warriors, because when we pan out, we don't see any of the Sheikah towers, and I'm quite interested to see why and where they've gone. Could it be, 5 years on from Breath of the Wild 1, they, sent them back into the ground, being like, they're there, we'll use you another time.
Yeah,
or, maybe. Did they dismantle them because they didn't want them being taken over? There's lots of questions still left unanswered.
I mean, Ganondorf could have destroyed them all or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as well, this whole new mechanic of in the sky, I've seen... we see that new ability where it's like a water droplet reversing in time. Lots of time-based elements I'm noticing now. But, you then fly up to the floating island and you sort of like X-Men style phase through it, like
Kitty Pryde,
Kitty Pryde, yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited. And as well, I saw a lot of people talking about, Link in the Sky is in his new outfit with the like his hair down, the little green sash thing. But then when he's on the ground, he's back in his like champion gear. Could that be because it's a placeholder? Because we're actually going to be playing as Zelda on the ground? Ooh.
Maybe. I think that's a stretch, but
that is quite a stretch.
But it's nothing that Nintendo hasn't done before. Like,
I don't think have they animated like an entire character model though in a trailer before?
But they already have that character model. That's the thing.
It's still effort though.
Yeah, but it's Nintendo.
I guess.
I mean, we see Zelda fall through the ground. Maybe, Link flies up to the sky and you have to do this nice duality, but almost, we saw it in Spirit Tracks, for example. You had Link going around defeating enemies, and then parts of the game where Zelda, in her ghost form, took over like Phantom Knights and controlled them. Could there be a similar mechanic where Link has to traverse the sky levels, and then every now and then we'll go back down to Zelda, who has to, fight through, use her Sheikah slate, which has different abilities to Link's Sheikah slate, and, unlock things that then allow Link to progress forward in the game. But I'm excited to see how much has changed and where it all ties in.
This just looks like perfect sequel bait. Like, this is like everything you want to see in a sequel to a game, a best-selling game at that as well. Because I think when they announced that they were going to do a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, immediately what like sort of hit me was like, well, how are they going to do a sequel to like a game map that we've like all memorized effectively off by heart, right? How are we going to go back to this place and re-explore it again? Especially when I think the big draw of Breath of the Wild was like, it was a little less focused on story, and it was just all about go out and do stuff. Anything you can see, you can climb it, you can do it, you can go up it. And so, with the idea of a direct sequel to it, it's just like, how are we gonna shake this up? And it turns out they've literally shaken it up. Like, the world is literally just floating above your head now. Like, all these bits of islands are just everywhere. So I think it's just a really good idea to just literally shake it up, destroy the map, and just have fun with it. Do something weird, do something wacky. Let's have everything flying. Why not?
I just imagine like a developer at Nintendo, like in frustration, like bashed his fists on his keyboard, and all of a sudden like the 3D model just like split and it like flew up.
It just corrupts. And goes in like 10 different directions.
Someone just comes on and they're like, wow, I love it. Yeah.
And Uber sounds like, you've got it. Promotion. It's just like an intern, like, what?
Wait, what? But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Jed. I think, we obviously got DLC, and I think something the team mentioned was that they had so many ideas about where to go with it that the DLC ended up becoming, or parts of the DLC, shall I say, ended up becoming what's going to be in the sequel. They still released, the two sets of DLC, but it's quite interesting to know that they worked on it thinking it was just DLC, but actually it grew into something much more. So that excites me because it it sank unexpected, and they didn't set out like, oh, the first one did so well and it made us lots of money. Let's make a sequel so we can get more money. This was something unexpected. And they're like, whoa, we're on something here. There's so much here and it's so cool. And we want to include it all. Because they could have easily turned around and just said, no, let's cut, X, Y, Z and just keep it to DLC because that's what we've agreed. They actually turned around and they went, no, there's a lot here and there's a lot we want to do that it warrants a sequel. So
I think it's like a lot of people said when the game came out, you've got this massive map that's got so much to do in it. I probably haven't seen all of the map myself, even though I played over 100 hours of the game. But it's like, you've got this massive map, like what can you do with it? Like they must have so many ideas of how they could have changed the map, played with the map. Some of that was in the DLC. But I think the idea of, like Jed said, just playing with it, like the structure of it is fascinating, and I want to see how far they'll go, because I think for a game that's like 5 years of development time extra, I know COVID-19 was in that, which probably affected it quite a lot, especially for a company like Nintendo that's very secretive about letting stuff out the door. I think I think a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes. I think they must have done quite a lot for it to warrant a full sequel. Like, I don't think the floating islands are cool. But I think there's a lot more that we haven't seen yet, that beyond some parts of the map kind of lifting up.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope it's more than just some flying stuff. Like, if it's just, it's the same game, but here's some flying bits you can jump off of, I don't think that would be enough. I think you're right. Yeah, they've got to have something else going on.
I think sort of like Stephen was saying with Zelda falling, I'd be extremely disappointed if they're just going to sideline Zelda for another game. I think that all the shouts for Zelda to be playable are quite warranted at this point. Like Spirit Tracks was an example of them allowing that to happen and let her be her own character. But again, I mean, that came with the kind of side point of, she actually got murdered straight away. And now she's like your ghost companion. It's like, okay, one step forward, two steps back sort of thing.
She wasn't murdered because Nintendo is a family company.
I mean, she was literally murdered at the start of that game.
Her Triforce was separated from her body, and she, that sort of...
I mean, they sort of killed her off. But
I think, we even get to play as Zelda in Hyrule Warriors. And
even like Cadence of Hyrule, that indie spin-off.
Yeah, and I think it fares well that they've even looked at like the base enemy, which is a bokoblin, and they've changed it. Sure, they've just given it a bigger horn, but I think, attention to detail, they've really looked at this like from a ground level up. They haven't just gone, oh yeah, we've got mokoblins and bokoblins. Let's just, put those back in the game because, they've actually gone, well, no, let's make them a bit more difficult. What if, they paired up with the stone enemy? I can't remember. Tomes? Talismans? The big
God. Talos or something like that?
Yeah. Either way,
I've probably got that wrong. Oh dear. It's on record.
There are people screaming at us, being like, you idiots, it's this. But,
Yeah, but you say that, but I think that's like more DLC territory, like improving the enemies and stuff. I think that for a sequel, they must have had some big idea that really, say again, like shook up the map and is really changing it. I get a lot of Majora's Mask vibes from the whole direct sequel thing that they don't do a lot. Lots of time stuff going on that we don't understand yet. Like Link's got this kind of corrupted arm that we see at first taken over by like the Blight of Ganon or something, and then by like some more like Twilight sort of essence, and then he's got this arm brace on that it's like, could that be some sort of temporary fix for what's happening to his arm? And he's got like a time limit, like he's been given these extra powers through this affliction, but he's only got a time limit to save Zelda now before it takes him over. I think there's something very weird going on that we don't know yet. I think it's going to be a Majora's Mask sort of dark, twisted, maybe even a time limit game again. I don't know. But I'm excited to see.
Do we think, though, that they are going to go that route? And I don't know. I don't know how well that would be perceived. I don't know if people will think it is too similar to Majora's Mask in the sense that you've got this big looming threat that happens at the end of 3 days.
I don't think it'd be like a 3 days thing, but I think there's just going to be maybe something more pressurized, like as a contrast to the freedom of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good shout. Yeah,
and that's what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina. So.
I think the main sort of criticism of Breath of the Wild was that like things didn't really have any urgency. Like they'd opened everything up and you could go anywhere and do everything, but like, you know, the story somewhat suffered for that, and then, you know, just being able to do what you wanted just kind of killed a bit. I mean, like, I still haven't done the final boss. Like, I've played that game twice now, all the way through.
I mean, I
still
slightly
haven't
agree
done the final
because,
boss.
like, in the back of my head when I was running around with chickens and finding Koroks, I was like, Zelda's like in the middle of Hyrule Castle, like holding back Ganon on her own while you do this.
It's like, fine, like, don't worry about it.
It's like, it's a free game, but also it's like, I kind of feel quite guilty about this. It's like, I probably am ready, but I think I should take a few more hours.
I will say, like, that was something for me after I'd completed the game. Like, and I get it. I get that it's a game trope of like you reset before the big final boss because you can't really carry on after that without it.
Yeah. Zelda's always done that.
Yeah. So, you know, once I'd done the final boss, I felt a bit like, oh, well, now I feel bad again because Zelda's trapped in the castle.
I think they could have done that. I think they could have beat Ganon and then just let you explore the rest of the world. Like I've said it a lot of times, like the modern Tomb Raider games, that's what I like a lot about them is after the story's finished, like you can just go back through these environments and take your time in exploring like archaeological caves and these cool environments. Kind of relaxing.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of a misstep to not let you do that.
Get all those 999 Korok seeds.
No.
But yeah, I mean, they could have easily done, you know, New Game Plus and then allow you to do things like the Master Sword trial, whilst, you know, the castle isn't under attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, it doesn't have a title. It doesn't have a name yet.
From an interview I was reading, they were saying that they are hesitant to reveal the title because of something in the title gives it away a lot about the story. So they're holding back at the moment because once they mention it, it reveals more about how exactly you'll be playing.
Very mysterious.
Breath of the Wild 2, you get to play as Zelda.
I feel bad for the people who have to make like placeholder images and stuff though, because the sequel to Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is not a handy title.
Yeah, that's not friendly. That's long. That is not nice.
I mean, is it still going to be Breath of the Wild and then
I don't think so.
Subtitle, or is it going to be like?
No,
we've never had a 2 in a Zelda name, right?
Yeah.
If they do that, they've given up.
Yeah,
I mean, they put numbers on Mario Kart. They stopped doing that. I know Mario Kart's a sore topic, but
don't.
Yeah, I mean, they went from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, so it would be weird now if they went Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
Things get wilder.
Also, that wouldn't really be a spoiler, so I think there's something else going on.
Yeah, but
we'll see then.
Yeah, this is planned. They said 2022. They didn't give us a month or a date, but
well, they said targeted, which makes me think they're not confident.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not going to happen in 2022. Again, another one. I hate to burst your bubble, but I'll be very surprised if it hits that.
I mean, remember the first Breath of the Wild was originally announced as a 2015 game. So, yeah. But yeah, I think one of my main points that I really like to stress is that I think we need Zelda to be, if not playable, at least have some sort of key role. Because I think now in this day and age, she kind of deserves it. She's even got the cool haircut. Like, come on.
It's time.
Like, she's one of like the most prominent female characters in all of games. You can't just toss her in a pit for the sequel. Like, come on.
I mean, her name is in the title.
Exactly. No, that's Link.
I agree with you. I think if they sideline her again, it is going to feel a bit... Because I get it for new games, because it's a new setting, new Zelda, new Link, etc. But this is the same characters, and we've seen how strong she is at the end of Breath of the Wild, and we've even seen her character and how strong she is in Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
So to then put her back in that category of like, oh, like fragile young princess, she falls down a hole and that's it.
Yeah. I think, I mean, even when the first Breath of the Wild teaser trailer was announced, which would have been 2014, oh my god. Like, because Link looked like their character model was a bit different, they looked more feminine in that initial trailer, and people were asking like, oh, is Link female now? Or along those lines of like, can we play as a woman?
Isn't this where they were coming up with a name like Linkle or something?
Yeah, that was in the first Hyrule Warriors. They made a new character called Linkle.
Okay.
But even from the start of the Breath of the Wild hype, Enuma was like playing along with it, like, oh, maybe Link's a girl sort of thing. So they know that demand's there for a different lead or something.
I mean, technically, we got to dress up in order to be able to get into Gerudo village. So
right, yeah.
Link was a girl or perceived as a woman at one point.
I just think my main point is that, like, I think Nintendo knows the demand is there for Zelda to be a playable character or more of a key role.
100%.
So I hope they're not ignoring that.
Can I just throw a wild card out there and say,
sure.
Do you think there's any possibility of something like co-op in this with both Link and Zelda, like an online co-op?
Maybe there was rumors of that for the first Breath of the Wild for about a year or so.
You know, the title could be something co-op related, and that would sell it.
I'm gonna say no. I think
it would be really cool.
I don't see them doing a sequel that's hinged.
Oh, that would be cool though.
I mean, I don't see it hinged off of co-op. If there's a co-op feature where it's sort of like, if you have a second person, they could jump in and play with you. But I don't see them doing it where the whole game is dependent on you the player, and either a second player or an AI controlling the second character.
I feel like if they did a multiplayer game, they'd want to go all in, but they're not going to make Breath of the Wild 2 multiplayer only. So I don't think they're going to make the compromise. They wouldn't compromise the single player game, and I don't think you can make a multiplayer version of this without doing that. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be cool because you've got this massive open world, and seeing how like two people using the stasis and such at the same time would be kind of cool.
That's the thing. Like, they might have seen all of these like YouTube compilation videos of these people like pulling off these insane tricks, and they're just like, you know what? We just need to make this even more mental and just add another player. Just do it. But no, you're right. It's a bit of a big dream. I don't think that's going to happen. But
then, like, I'd say like, oh, Nintendo doesn't have experience doing big multiplayer games like this, but then they didn't have experience doing these big open world games before Breath of the Wild, and it turned out quite well. So,
trendsetter.
Who knows?
And, you know, I mentioned beforehand, it could be a duality of like you play part of the game as Link and then you play part of the game as Zelda. So
yeah, I like that.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't see it happening. I do think it is a bit too wild, but you know, they've done crazier things.
I think Zelda playing like below the world and then Link above would be cool, but
yeah, because from the first trailer, we're led to believe that like, ooh, dungeons are back and we're all going underground and exploring. Then this second trailer almost like throws that out the window and goes, we're in the sky now.
Yeah.
Sky time.
I mean,
Skyward Sword HD was a clue all along.
Could it be that there's actually 3 levels to this game? So,
like a cake.
Yeah, a very delicious cake. You have like your familiarity of the overground, which we all know from the prequel. And there might be, you know, some changes, but then you have the totally new areas of above ground and underground, which we see them exploring at the beginning, but then we also see Link with his new like dragon flamethrower shield thing underground again. So
yeah,
maybe the title's all about, you know, as above, as below, and you've got to, you know, in order to get to Hyrule Castle, you have to go underground and then climb up and then go into the sky. But then you've got that familiarity of the middle ground, which is what we played in Breath of the Wild, and
For sure.
that way you're like, oh well, I know that, you know, Death Mountain is that way, and I know that Gerudo City is that way. I wonder what's underground there, because I know that there's an oasis there. And then you go underground and you're like, oh look, there's the skeleton of that thing, and blah blah. I mean, that could be cool.
I mean, we could theorize for ages. I mean, we were kind of on track time wise, but then we got to Breath of the Wild and just keeps going.
Annihilated it.
Have anyone got like something essential they'd like to say? Because I feel like we should wrap it up on Breath of the Wild.
I'd just like to say that if they take bits of the current Breath of the Wild map and they've like thrown it into the air, and it's not new bits of map in the air, like it's bits that you're familiar with, then that does like leave open the question, like, well, what's in the hole that it's left behind? Right?
Definitely, yeah.
So that, I think that would give credence to this whole like,
maybe that's the
as above,
subtitle.
so below.
Legend of Zelda: What's in the Hole?
What's in the hole?
No.
Hole in the wall.
Legend of Zelda, let's go spelunking.
I mean, maybe.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Spelunking and skydiving.
Sold.
Right. Well, we've reached the end of our list. We've done it.
Huzzah!
Overall, did you enjoy E3 overall? I think it's a bit flat in places, but I think the high points made it worth it.
I think it was mostly flat. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, lots of the showcases were a bit like middle ground.
I think after having nothing last year, even though it was okay and there were definitely high points and low points, I overall enjoyed it because it's been a year since we've had this, and
I think it was nice just to get together and watch stuff again.
Exactly.
It was definitely good for indies. They did well. They did very well.
And again, I think that's down to, you know, smaller dev teams being able to get together a lot easier and work across smaller teams. But, you know,
yeah, definitely.
We still had big hitters. Like,
I think Microsoft was pretty good. I think Nintendo is the best for me, but I might be biased because that's my taste.
No PlayStation, obviously.
Yeah.
Elephant in the room.
You do feel it a bit when you don't have that Microsoft PlayStation double punch, like consecutive. I always enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a shame. I hope they do something soon.
I mean, they had the Horizon State of Play recently, but we'll see. I don't think they've got that much to show right now.
I mean, they might do something closer to the holidays to announce, you know, what their holiday games will be. But yeah.
Right, so pick me your one highlight game out of that 10 out of E3.
It's got to be Elden Ring. Got to be.
Nice. That is a very extremely Jed game. I wonder what Steven's going to say.
I mean, I got the most excited about Breath of the Wild. But in terms of games that I can be excited for in the sort of like near future, it'd be Advance Wars.
Oh, intriguing.
Oh, okay.
Did not expect that. Okay, cool.
I did not expect that either.
I honestly, I have gone from like, oh, it looks all right.
I mean, if you like Fire Emblem, you're probably going to like it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend watching the Treehouse because it changed my mind about it. I could change my mind next week. Let's be honest. Like, ask me next week, and I'll probably be like, "Nah, I hate it."
For me, like, I mean, Breath of the Wild was good, but because it was quite expected, I think Metroid Dread was probably my highlight, just for a surprise. Because we've been wanting a 2D Metroid for so long, and it was great to get one that, I mean, it inspires confidence with like the development team behind it and the amount of game they showed and how soon it is. It's kind of the game we wanted, I think. So that was good. My highlight.
Everyone loves a surprise.
Right, exactly.
I'm excited to give that series a go. Finally,
I'm excited for so many people to get into it. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, it says wrap up here, and then Stephen has put pew pew as a final closing comment, which I refuse to say.
I'm not saying it either.
I mean, you already did say it.
I mean, I get it, friendly fire guns, but no.
Yeah, like finger guns, like pew pew.
Oh no, you just made it worse.
And there's our box quote. There it is. That's it.
I mean, we've already got the recording of Will saying pew pew, so we just need Jed to say it now.
Oh no, it's gonna be like Baby Driver, where you like make a recording out of it.
I refuse to say it. It's not happening.
Thanks for joining. See you next time. Pew,
Oh
pew,
dear.
pew.
Well, thanks for joining me, both of you. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll keep this going. It's fun to finally do a podcast after talking about it for about a year.
Nice. We did it.
We did it.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm going to end on that really half-hearted cheer. Thanks, everyone.